November was jam-packed with new releases and plenty of gems to go around. However, no month is ever safe without its fair share of duds. Luckily for you, this list should make your purchasing decisions a bit easier this holiday season. Doc here, and today we're going over the top 10 games you should have bought last month. Starting off at number 10, we have Goat Simulator 3, an action-based goat simulation experience. Developed by Coffee Stain North Team and published by Coffee Stain Studios, this is, despite its title, the second installment of the series. There definitely was no Goat Simulator 2, and it appears a bit of trolling was going on down around at Coffee Stain Studios. Just like the first game, you play as a goat in third person, where your objective is to be insanely chaotic and as obnoxious as possible in an urban setting. In a map that developers claim to be 18 times the size of the original game, players will find and equip items strewn out across the map, perform outrageous stunts, terrorize locals, and explore new playstyle mechanics. Now, unlike the first game, Goat Simulator 3 does contain a story mode featuring a line of quests that have been welcomed by fans so far, but it's not to be mistaken as a replacement for the open world sandbox element Goat Simulator does so well. Now, with that said, the main naysayers here are the critics and not necessarily the players. As with the first one, it shares some of the same complaints that there is not enough objective direction. However, I hesitate to agree with this just because, come on, it's a fucking Goat Simulator, not Overwatch. With that said, you can always catch a copy of Goat Simulator 3 for $30 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, or through Epic Games on PC. Next, at number 9 is Soulstone Survivors, a fantasy-based action roguelike game developed and published by Gamesmithing Limited. In Soulstone Survivors, you play as a void hunter facing endless waves of void creatures, where you aim to collect soulstones which increase your power over time in order to take on the biggest and baddest the void has to offer. Now, like other roguelites, replayability and constant character skill progression is the central theme here. By eliminating waves of enemies, you unlock new abilities, upgrade your skill tree, craft weapons, and unlock a roster of playable characters. Currently, the game sits with about 150 different active skill types, which in my opinion is quite substantial for an early access title. There are also 14 unlockable characters to play as, 7 powerful bosses, plus 6 quote-unquote elite sub-bosses who are essentially regular enemies beefed up with special abilities. The game also offers the ability to craft legendary weapons by completing a multitude of steep challenges, which ultimately does enhance the endgame replayability, allowing for at least 30 plus hours of content to be enjoyed in its current state. Soulstone Survivors is available for a low price of $10, where you can catch it in early access on Steam for PC. At number 8, The Entropy Centre, a sci-fi adventure puzzle game inspired by the likes of hit classics Portal and Portal 2. This one was developed by Stubby Games and published by PlayStack. The story takes place in a post-apocalyptic setting where an extinction event has taken place on Earth. As you appear to be mankind's last hope, you'll traverse through the Entropy Centre, a space station in orbit around Earth, doing so in an attempt to prevent its foreseeable explosion. Throughout the journey, you'll uncover the secrets of the facility and piece together the mystery of Earth's annihilation. While exploring the Entropy Centre, players encounter several different puzzles that will act as roadblocks to progressing the story. To solve these puzzles, players utilize an AI-powered gun known as Astra, allowing them to bend the fabric of space-time around the objects to their will. Additionally, the Entropy Centre places a heavy emphasis on a variety of different cubes throughout the game that each have their own special set of characteristics. Certain levels require a combination of different cubes in conjunction with Astra's time-bending abilities in order to beat sections of the game. The Entropy Centre encourages players not only to think outside of the box, but at times to even think completely in reverse in order to achieve their objective. If you are a fan of the Portal series or puzzle games in general, this one's going to be right up your alley. For only $25, you can get the Entropy Centre on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and through Steam on PC. At number 7 is Football Manager 2023, the latest installment in the Football Manager series developed by Sports Interactive and published by Sega. Like its annually released predecessors, this is a football manager simulation game where you play as the front office manager for the club of your liking in Europe's UEFA Champions League. Featuring both single and multiplayer modes, the new additions to this year's game includes more realistic UEFA branding, as they did acquire full licenseship this year. The game also features enhanced live simulation graphics and entirely revamped scouting and recruiting mechanics. There was also a huge focus on improving the AI among the CPU managers, so the dev team overhauled the old AI programming with a more robust, adaptive CPU approach. Lastly, the part I find the most interesting is a new fan-based management system known as Support or confidence. The system forces players to adjust according to their expectations at all times, managing against fan requests and general attitudes towards the club, aka how much do you want to be hated by your fans versus win more games. Football Manager 2023 does offer a demo you can try before you buy if you're still feeling a bit unsure, but if you like football or soccer, as the Americans always like to call it, and have had fun with sim games in the past, I recommend picking this one up for $60, available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Game Pass for console, Xbox Game Pass for PC, and through Steam on PC. Next on our list at number 6 is Ship of Fools, an online multiplayer and couch co-op focused 2D roguelike game, developed by Fika Productions and published by Team 17, who were also involved in Overcooked 2, The Escapist 2, and the recent Souls-like release Thymesia. The base premise here is you play as the Fools, a band of creatures who are the only ones fool enough to sail the seas for fear of the corrupted waters. The game takes place on the deck of a ship where up to 2 human-controlled players battle the corrupt enemies of the sea. Like other roguelike games, players take on progressively more difficult waves of enemies, and in doing so, they'll gain tendrils as rewards which vary depending on the player's performance. These tendrils are used to purchase weapons, ship upgrades, unique types of ammunition, and trinkets that help aid players in combat. Players are also equipped with an oar that can be used to play a little bit of whack-a-mole with any enemies who choose to board the ship. Ship of Fools offers a fun couch co-op approach to the roguelike genre, and as someone who is a big fan of couch co-ops, I appreciate the angle this team is taking. It is worth cautioning, however, that the entertainment value is going to be severely limited if you don't have someone to play with or are not a fan of linking up with randoms online. But with that said, Ship of Fools is a fairly priced game at $15 and is available on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and through Steam on PC. Number 5. Bendy and the Dark Revival. Notching its way up to the top of Steam's 250 list for the month of November is the third title in the franchise and direct sequel to the 2017 single-player action-adventure horror puzzle game Bendy and the Ink Machine, developed and published by Joey Drew Studios. Bendy and the Dark Revival takes place 10 years after the events of Bendy and the Ink Machine, where you play as Audrey, who is the new animator of Bendy cartoons for Archgate Studios. Early in the game, you are quickly captured by a janitor known as Wilson, who forces you to fight through levels of ink minions to escape back to the real world. Like its predecessor, Bendy and the Dark Revival prides itself on the unique craftsmanship of its art style. Players navigate their way through kooky environments via first person and are equipped with limited physical actions such as running and jumping. As a result, players are forced to utilize stealth and strategic movements in order to solve environmental puzzles. Additionally, players unlock unique abilities along the way to help them more easily traverse enemies they encounter. Essentially, this game is what would happen if Amnesia had a baby with the Looney Tunes. Overall, the unique style is more crisp and defined compared to the first game, and the first-person mechanics have evolved to a level comparable to that of the BioShock franchise, which has fans of this series cheering. Regardless of my hesitation to play horror games because I'm a big baby, I'll still be eyeing this one during the upcoming Steam Winter Sale. Currently, Bendy and the Dark Revival sits at $30, available for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and through Steam on PC. At number 4 is Sonic Frontiers, a single-player action-adventure open-world Sonic game, and as many of you probably already know, a staple franchise for Sega. Now, Sonic Frontiers is another attempt at a 3D Sonic game in which you arrive on a stranded ancient island where you aim to uncover its mysteries. Unlike its 2D predecessors, players have the ability to wander the open ancient landscape while still doing Sonic-like things such as battling enemies, collecting coins, traversing platforms at high speeds, solving environmental puzzles, and oddly enough, going fishing. Throughout the journey, players will adventure across 5 different island landscapes, where upgrading a skill tree will improve Sonic's ability to fight new and diverse enemies. I'm going to go out there and say that Sonic Frontiers is easily the most polarized game of the year in terms of feedback between the critics and the gaming community. On one hand, you have critics like SkillUp and Dunkey who have expressed their disdain for the game, while on the other hand, you have a vast, and I mean a vast, majority of the series franchise fans who couldn't disagree more with them. Now, I've never been a massive Sonic franchise fan, so my opinion is fairly non-biased. To say the game is flawless would be untrue. It has had some not so great bugs with the console ports, but as far as anyone can tell, the PC ports seem to be fantastic. To claim it isn't good or that it's a poorly developed game is a heavy stretch by critics who, in my opinion, are being overly critical of a game simply based on its IP. Had it been an indie title, it probably wouldn't received the level of criticism it has from critics. Without going into some of their further complaints and criticisms, I will stop there for the sake of time, but that is my brief 2 cents. I believe Sonic Frontiers truly is a great step in the direction of future Sonic titles to come from a fan base that is widely deserving. You can fly around Ancient Islands for $60, available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and through Steam on PC. At number 3 is a very unique take on the roguelite genre in Against the Storm, a self-described roguelite city builder developed by Aramite Games and published by Hooded Horse. And yes, you did hear me right, a strategic building sim that merges with elements of roguelite. Quite a twist on this now mainstream genre, so you gotta love the originality. Taking art style inspiration from one of the all-time RTS greats in Warcraft, Against the Storm tosses you into a fantasy wilderness setting where you play as Viceroy, a royal leader serving the Scorched Queen who has tasked you to discover the riches of the lost city. Players focus on building not just one village and expanding its presence, but a network of villages intertwined with their own unique needs and challenges, featuring roguelite elements allowing you to take resources and upgrades from prior expeditions each time a new journey for riches begins. Each village created will be unique to its populace as players are tasked to manage different races of creatures with their own set of living requests and preferences. Additionally, players will have to navigate their settlements through reoccurring blight storms, territorial enemies, opportunistic traveling merchants, and trading with previously established settlements. Against the Storm is the biggest surprise of the month to me by far. It puts a wild twist on roguelite, which is refreshing to see as this roguelite genre has been getting more and more mainstream. There's just been a ton of saturation, which along the way has led to a fair share of stale attempts. I have to say I am stoked to give this one a try later this month. This team's already received something crazy like 20 different indie game awards, and it's not even at 1.0 yet, so please don't glaze over this one. Against the Storm is available in early access through both Epic Games and Steam on PC. Number 2 is Pentiment. Microsoft Studios' most anticipated release of November is a single-player, historically narrative-driven 2D adventure game developed by Obsidian Entertainment. This is the same team behind Fallout New Vegas, Outer Worlds, Grounded, and so many other great games. In Pentiment, you play as journeyman artist Andreas Mahler. Set in early 16th century Bavaria, a close friend of Mahler's has been accused of the murder of a high-profile individual. In seeking to disprove these allegations, you set out across Europe to investigate clues over a 25-year span. Players are responsible for choosing their own path of investigation, with the end goal of accusing the actual murderer. Players experience a variety of narrative choices and are forced to make decisions in a timely manner as a result of the game's dialogue timer. While some may view this as a stress-inducing activity, it does lead to an individualistic experience for each player, also allowing for a fair amount of replayability. And as I mentioned earlier, the game does take place over the span of 25 years, so choices made by players in the present impact both the visuals and dialogue of future encounters within those same communities down the road. The game also features a wide array of historically accurate dialogue, art, and originally composed music to further bolster the game's atmosphere. Pentiment is no doubt a passion project by the team over at Obsidian, but it hits all the marks of what makes a game like this so great. It doesn't try to be anything it's not, and it triples down on its niche theme. You can explore 16th century Bavaria for just $20, available on Xbox Game Pass for both consoles and PC, as well as through Steam on PC. And at number 1, and no surprise to most, is God of War Ragnarok, a single-player, third-party action-adventure game developed by Santa Monica Studio and published by Sony in the 5th installment in the series and the heavily written sequel to God of War 2018. Like the rest of the series, God of War Ragnarok takes place in the world of Norse mythology, where you play as Kratos, the former Greek god of war, who's accompanied by his son Atreus. The two of you traverse the 9 realms of Norse mythology while navigating questionable relationships formed with Odin, Thor, and the rest of Ragnarok. Featuring an over-the-shoulder camera view, the game is impressively developed in one shot. This means no loading screens or camera cuts, which is a bit mind-blowing compared to games made just 10 years ago. Like its predecessors, the game is focused around a combination of exploration and fluid fighting mechanics. Kratos is equipped with a battle axe, his iconic double-chain blades, and a shield, all of which are upgradable using magical runes through a slightly expanded crafting system from the 2018 version of the game. Additionally, players can customize their appearance through a limited set of unlockable skins, and furthermore, Ragnarok is host to a healthy lineup of side quests, all rich in solid dialogue and story that even allows for the exclusive ability to play directly as Atreus. When outside of these missions, players control Atreus passively to help Kratos in combat and in solving puzzles. So far, God of War is leading its way to Game of the Year, and I would not be surprised in the slightest to see it announced at this year's 2022 Game Awards event on December 8th. Unfortunately for me, I don't yet own a PS5, so I will just have to wait a bit longer than some to get my hands on a copy of this one. In the meantime, I guess I'll just have to keep playing my PC port of God of War 2018. Definitely take advantage of any upcoming holiday sales where you can get God of War Ragnarok on discount, as right now it's sitting at the steep price of $70, available on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. As always, I am curious, what do you think is going to be the next big title heading into the new year? There are several big releases in December. I know we have Callisto Protocol, which is a game clearly inspired from Dead Space. You got Marvel's Midnight Suns, hoping that's going to be a little bit better than Gotham Knights was. DC definitely dropped the ball there. And then the game I've been anticipating the most this year, High on Life, which is from the creators of Rick and Morty. Really hoping that's going to be a good one. But what do you think? Will it be the big AAA team or the small indie studio that blows us away this holiday season? Comment below, let me know, and until next time, peace out, y'all.